Hey guys, it is Mark, and we are doing the final part 4 conclusion video of this playlist that you've been watching today. I've reviewed the other tapes, and I don't completely hate them, so that's good. Um, we did a lot of stuff, and I don't think that we were going to be able to cover everything we did today, but hopefully we can cover the some of the important things. I would encourage you to, this video is oriented towards people who have not coded before. I'm looking for business people who are interested in programming and who do work in Excel, but who don't program. Um, and this video is for you, and I would encourage you to to not have too much of a flashcard sort of. I suffer from, like, I have to write everything down, like, as an OCD sort of thing, all these notes, and I generally don't actually read the notes except for when I'm on an airplane. So I really do believe the best way for you to learn is just by doing. Um, don't think, do. And so with that in mind, let's go ahead and let's just go in and we'll cruise through and we'll look at what we did. Okay, I have no webcam today. It's broken. I have to get a new one. Let me start with some loose ends. Here in the last video that we were working on the fixture module, it was getting late and I made a mistake. So I passed in, this is the line that was here. This is the bad line that was there. In the function fixture row exists, I was passing in for the fixture name, I was passing in the model name, and that's not correct. I should have been passing in the fixture name, in case anybody caught that. It sort of worked by coincidence for a little while, but as I was playing around with it more, the problem became evident. Okay, let's see. The next thing is there was an issue with encryption. So there's this, encrypt decrypt value that's used by the settings, and for certain things like these three keys, I encrypt them. It's just like on a screen share, or I'd rather not have it in plain text. So you'll see the little dialogue appear. In fact, I can probably make it appear right now. See this? Whenever you guys see this, if you remember nothing else, you could just click OK. Click OK and just use password 123 until you have a reason not to. That's used to that's the key that's used to encrypt, like, the actual API key. I don't want to go through that whole thing with you again where where I reveal my key, so I won't do that. Okay, moving on. Next thing is I had a cool realization after our last video, and that is, you guys are going to have a blocker. If you were trying to do something with AI, like a classifier, or we'll look at some other really cool ideas for things you can do. Basically, by blending Excel with these ChatGPT endpoints, is that you won't be able to send client data. So if you're working for a big Fortune 500 company, you will not be able to send client data to OpenAI ChatGPT endpoint. It's just, you shouldn't. Even if you have the technical ability to do that, you should not do that. So I noticed that in my Copilot, my just Windows 10, I have this Copilot thing that I just clicked the start menu and typed in Copilot. But I'm guessing, so my Copilot, if I type in a prompt, it is going to go to some server somewhere. But I'm guessing that if your company has given you this and they're telling you they want you to use AI, they're pressuring you to use AI. It seems like there's a lot of companies right now that are really pushing their employees, like, why aren't you using AI? You can definitely leverage that, I think, and say, well, because you're blocking me and I need this XYZ, you can turn the tables. But my point is, your company has everything, you know, handled in a manner that the data doesn't like leave the premises. So I mean, you double check, but I think that you should have some sort of chatbot of some level of intelligence that you can talk to. So I don't think that I can message Copilot through an API programmatically the way we do with ChatGPT, but because of Prompt Interceptor, we can actually just paste the prompts in here. So let me see. Let me first get some data in here. So I'm going to use this guy and just import. I'm just running our import script. So you see these numbers here. Reload the workbook. We have 101 unclassified expenses. I'm going to make sure that our setting, good, we have it set to use the prompt interceptor. So rather than execute the callback and paste the classifications into the Excel cells or write them into our model, it's going to intercept. So let's just click this. Okay, this is our prompt for the first 10 expenses. Instead of firing it to ChatGPT, I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. I'm getting a warning. It's true, when this file explorer is open, don't ask me why, the clipboard can be unreliable. Well, let's see if it worked. It did work. All right, let's try again. Come on. There we go. Much better. Okay, so let's copy that, and I'm going to paste it here, and then launch the code. All right, now look, we have 9 expenses classified. I don't know why. Oh, the 10th one was needs review. Let's take a look at that. So LinkedIn Premium Business Plan, it wanted to know, is this a subscription being used for business or personal needs context? So we would have to resolve that one. But these ones it felt were clean. So my point being is you can, by intercepting, basically using Excel VBA to structure these prompts and make the prompts, you can then just copy paste them to whatever LLM your company will allow you to use, and sort of bypass around things that way. All right. Is that all of the loose ends? That's all the loose ends that I want to talk about. So let me make a cut right here. Okay. Let's look at how to get into the VBA editor. So we there's like a few ways to do it. One of them is just to hit Alt F11. This is usually what I do. And another one is to right click on this worksheet, any worksheet you can click on, and then just click view code. And lastly is this button here. If you don't see this developer in your ribbon, right click on any item in the ribbon, click customize, check this box, and press OK. And that'll make it come. Okay. We talked about procedures versus function. We wrote a lot of these things, so I don't want to overthink it here. A function returns something, and a subroutine cannot return anything. Both of them can take arguments, and effectively both of them can do the same thing. There is no situation where you could use a subroutine and you could not use a function. I actually think there's one really rare one, but I don't think you're going to run into it. So that's functions and subroutines. We also, the other two types of procedures are the getters and the setters. So you see them here. Let's see. Here, public property get, VBA callback name. We're in the prompt model. So prompt. So these are our fields that we made here. And what the add-in is doing is basically every time you add or remove a field, it's like adding two properties here. So for VBA callback name, it's a string, and it's adding this is the getter. So when we're working in code and we say debug.print prompt.VBA callback name, this is the code that gets hit. And it also has a setter or a letter. So here's the letter for VBA callback name. This is how you assign a new value. I'll talk about that more at some point, but I will not talk about it more right now. Okay, so there are 4 module types: forms, user forms, standard modules, class modules, and these worksheet modules, which you know, for every worksheet you add, there's like a little code module behind it. You probably, never did anything with it before, but it's there. To add a new module, just when you open up a new project or whatever, if you create a host workbook, you're going to see some code in here already. But if it's just a regular old workbook, you would need to right click and then click insert and just pick one of these. Probably this middle one is good to start with. Okay, procedures, the 4 module types. This option explicit. So at the top of every module, you should have option explicit. This is one of those like very easy, I love rules of thumb that are easy, and this is an easy one. Put option explicit at the top of every module and don't worry about the details. It just makes it forces you to actually dim your variables. So to create like a type instead of just saying, dim my number as long. That would be good. But let's say bad number. Let's turn this off. So see, bad number, I didn't actually create that number. If I don't have option explicit, oh shit, that's a totally different, unrelated problem. If I didn't have option explicit, which I don't, it doesn't care. See, it's not saying anything. I never said what bad number is. I just, out of the blue, I just assigned it a value. If I turn on option explicit, it's going to get it right away. You will cause a lot of headaches and problems if you don't put option explicit. Here's the good news. If you go to Tools, Options, I'm pretty sure right here, this checkbox. So in the very first thing, check this box, require variable declaration, and going forward, any module you add, it's just going to throw, it'll throw one there for you. So when you're starting, go to Tools, go to Options, and check this box. It will not be there by default. It will not be checked by default. Okay, public versus private for procedures. So we know that procedures, we have subroutines and functions, and then the getters and the setters, which we're not talking about. Say some number as long, message box, some number. Oops, let's get rid of this. So when I just hit F5 to try to run this, whenever you have parameters, it won't let you do the F5 thing. So I got rid of the parameter. Now I'm going to hit F5 to run it. What did I do? Oh, now it's mad because it wants, I'm getting rid of this parameter too. I'm getting rid of all the parameters. There we go. Okay, now this is a silly example, right? It's just message boxing. I've got a function that returns the number 23, and I got a subroutine that creates a variable for a number, assigns it to that function, gets back the 23, and message boxes it. But in order to sort of like do stuff, so the procedures are like the verb, There are like add some sheets, insert some data in those sheets, whatever it is. If you just had a bunch of constants and variables, it would not be, the program would not do anything. It would just, I don't know, it would just be like a worksheet full of, data in the cells. Procedures give life to your program. You have to invoke a procedure. So I'm just hitting F5 right now to invoke it. But I think probably one of the first things that you'll want is to get your code to run from like a button. So if I go here to design mode, no, let me do it the way you would do it. So developer, design mode, insert, active X control. I always use these, don't use the form controls, no matter what anybody says, unless it's me. Once you've inserted the button, you can double click on it, and then right here, I can just say my subroutine, and that's going to run it. But see, to me, that's not very clear. It's like, what does that mean? Like, is that like, what the hell? Is it a variable? I don't know. So I like the call operator, because anytime you see that call operator, you know, like, okay, it's definitely, this is not a variable. It's like defined higher up or something. This is definitely, I'm calling a function. You cannot call a variable. You cannot call a constant. You call procedures. So that's how you invoke the function. So, when you write your first script, you'll want to have a way, to basically from the user interface, from over here, outside the VBA editor, to execute it. That's how you do it. We learned a little bit about like styling buttons. So if design mode is off, when you click the button, it it'll execute the function. But if you click this design mode on, then you can like mess around with the buttons. You can copy buttons. So if I clicked on this button right here and just did like a Control-C, Control-V, I copied it. It's not going to come with the code. The code behind this button is saying, open form settings. And the code behind this button is nothing. But the reason you do that is I usually style one button and like make it look nice. And then I copy paste the rest of them. To change a button style in design mode, right click on the button and just click properties. And then here you can change, like whatever you want. Make it orange. You can change the font color to be, I don't know, something horrible. Green. For font, you like click on it and it opens up another little thing. You can make it big, I don't know what this font is, but let's try it out. Okay. You can drag them. That is buttons and procedures and how to use buttons to call procedures. Let me do a cut right there. Okay, next let's look at some variables. So let's see, back to this demo thing. Oh, classic Mark. I did forget something. So with a procedure, we looked at subroutine function. I said we're not talking about getters and setters, and we're not. But I should talk about this scope thing. So these both say public, and that's why the command button can get it. So here we're calling my subroutine, and it's not a problem. And I'm going to click on it and hit Shift F2 to fly right to the function. So put your cursor inside any, I don't know, I think it might work for constants and other stuff too, but just put it inside where you want to go and hit Shift F2. And that takes you right there. It's a lot better than Control F for it. So right now, if I hit compile, get rid of that. This is the example where I showed you what option explicit does, and we don't need to see that right now. If I hit compile, everything's going to pass, okay? but I just need like a little bit of something's wrong. Oh, this is what's wrong. I'm missing this guy. Now I'm going to take this procedure and I'm going to make it private. Now I'm going to compile again. We get a compile error because the sheet can no longer see it. So on any given module, public or private, it means for that module. If something is private, only the other stuff on this module is allowed to call it. It's nothing else can see it. So these is the only things coming from this demo side module. The only things we can see on that AA demo module are the things that are public. My function and this P number of sheets to add. This was an example that I didn't that I decided I didn't want to use. All right, so let's make this public again. Let's get rid of this. Okay, cool. Let me do a pause and then I'll do variables. I find that the pause is really important with these videos because like I just like constantly like start talking gibberish and stuff, and then any tape that came before that moment is like bad. So keep them small. It's my advice if you're doing videos. Basically, this up here was a constant. You have constants and variables. A constant is something that won't change. I am a constant versus when you make a string or you make a variable, first of all, you need like 2 lines. You've got to declare it and then assign it. Someone out there is going to point out that you can do something like this and it's valid. I don't like doing that. I don't like doing that at all. I just think it's harder to read. So I generally will not do any fancy stuff like that. I just go to the next line. You should use a constant whenever you can. So if something is never going to change, like if you're scraping some web URL and it's like always going to be the same, just make it a constant. It signals your intent better, it will run faster, and it just makes the code safer and better. So use constants when you can. If it has to change, if the value has to change, then you have to make it a variable, and you use this dim thing. Some of the other variable types were like my true false as Boolean. That's just a true false variable. So my true false equals, true. But I think if I do my true false equals cats, in VBA, the compiler doesn't care about that. I think that's a little bit too loose, in my opinion. Like, let's comment this out, see, everything works. So no compile errors, but when I hit F5 and run it, we get a type mismatch. It'd be a lot better if VBA would just recognize that these are not compatible things and would throw a compile error. It would give you earlier warning. You always want to find out as early as possible about a problem. So at compile time is the best time to find out about it. You really don't want to find out about it at runtime. It's just more annoying, and also sometimes things slip through and then your end users see it. But anyways, that's why we test the code. The other variable type, let's see, another one was, here, my number as integer. Never, do not use integers. Use long instead. So my number bad as integer, dim my number good as long. Integer and long are like functionally exchangeable. Anywhere where you could use an integer, you could use a long. I don't know of any exceptions to that. The difference, so let's say, so if I hit F5, we're fine here, right? Because this is a small number. But the difference is that integer can only go up to 32,000. So if I do like 32,001 right here, did I do that right? Maybe we need to go higher. Let's try 32,100. All right, let's try 100,000. There we go. So 100,000 broke it. And I think that, honestly, I think 32,000 breaks it. 32,001. I don't know why that wasn't breaking. Maybe I just needed to hit compile or something. But we're not going to have any problems. Let's go even bigger. Let's just make it like, whatever. That is breaking. Overflow basically means whatever you assigned to the variable was too big to fit in that variable. Let's put this here. Get rid of this. We're going to take that same big number and we're going to assign it to long. No problem. Integer is a holdover from the days when, like in the early 90s, when computers were not very fast. There's a limited number of memory and every byte counted. So integers take up less bytes. When you create a variable, it basically reserves a little spot on your machine of memory. And this is a tiny spot. Boolean is like, because it can only be two things and they're very small. So integer was like an efficiency thing, but on modern hardware, like it's just a trivial, infinitesimal difference. It doesn't matter. Point being, use long. It's like the option explicit thing. Just use long, do not use integer, and forget about it. Lastly, so dimd as dictionary. These are like called scalar variable types. They do not need to use the set operator. Object types. So for an object, like a dictionary, we have to use this set operator. The only two objects we really dealt with were dictionaries, let's just call it dict, and collections. Both of these are like, I guess you can think if it's a if it holds things, that's not really true. Objects are basically bigger things with methods. Like I don't think I can do anything on I don't think I can put my cursor after my true false. There's nothing's going to come up in the IntelliSense. But if I do that on a dictionary, I'm going to get the methods. Add, count, exists, whatever. Both of these are built in. The collection is like hardcore built in. It's always there. The dictionary comes from this scripting runtime reference. When you create a host workbook, it's just going to add this for you. So that reference will be added. So you have to use the set operator. Let's see if this works. It does. If I take the set operator off, nice. I do get a compile error for the collection if I don't have the set operator. We like that because it's an earlier warning. However, if I'm not mistaken, nice, we do. Great. So we get it for both. For getting the set operator, you'll get an immediate feedback. It's a little weird. It says argument not optional. There's probably a reason why it says that. Normally you see argument not optional when you call a function and it takes a parameter and you don't provide the parameter. That's when you see that normally. But if you're not calling any functions, and you suddenly get that compile error, it just means you probably forget the set operator. And don't forget, you can just like take the code to ChatGPT and say, like so, what's the mistake in this code? You give it the actual error message too, it'll be, really good. So the mistake is here. The fix is to do set. So just to demonstrate how powerful that technology is. I think that ChatGPT is the reason that you guys can do this now. It's like it's possible to come in, you know, instead of Googling or going to Stack Overflow or all the things you'd have to do to catch this stupid, tiny, you know, little bug, you could just literally mash it to ChatGPT and get an immediate answer right away. That fundamentally is a game changer for for aspiring programmers and for programmers. It's a game changer for everyone. I do not believe that the world has properly like caught up and priced in the possibilities that have been unlocked. Okay, so is there anything else about variables, types, scalars, objects? No, that's it. I'm cutting it. Let's do JSON next. So JSON is a way to, you know, take text and turn it into objects like dictionaries and collections, and then take and then do the opposite, where you take you know, objects like dictionaries and collections and convert them into text. And the reason that it's useful to have the data inside of a text format is that you can send it over the wire, like through, you know, APIs. So the example we looked at was here. It's like a 4X factory. Remember, we went to this website and we like clicked on the charts, and it's in the video. And we basically looked at where the chart was getting its data from. It's showing like these news events. So this is a JSON right here. And so on their side, on 4X Factory side, they probably are starting with an object. You know, when we click this, you know, hit enter here, they are receiving our request. They're going and getting an object, and then they're serializing the object into a string. On our side, we are, where was that example? Here. So on our side, we're doing the opposite. We're basically firing the request to that URL, which is giving us this whole thing as like a big chunk of text. And then we're taking that text right here and we're turning it into a dictionary. So we are deserializing it to an object. Let's just run this thing and see it again. Okay, so ultimately what's happening is we get the response ticked, so we get the full, you know, structure, and then we go into the data key, so wherever it is, data, and then within data, there's this events key, and then that gives us like a list. Remember that these brackets here connote like a list of items separated by commas. So this is really just a collection of dictionaries. And then we loop through, so we assign it to a collection, and then we loop through each of these subdicts and we print it out. Reminder again, if you're following this example, be very careful, be very mindful when you're hitting someone else's website. Like, you see I set this limit really low to just like 5 events. And I would never call this like in a loop. Each time we call it, I mean, it's probably way more intensive when you visit their actual web page and, you know, load up the chart. But I think my greater point is just be mindful when you're using some external thing that there is someone out there that owns that site. And it's a really cool site. So we are going to run it one more time so we can see this response text. So I just uncommented this line. See? It's the same thing that you see here. So JSON, here's just a little contrived. We create a dictionary. We add some keys for like alligators and cats or whatever. And then we turn this dictionary into a string. All right. And then here, so that's serializing our object. Let's just do the other one. See if I can remember how to do this. So if I go this side, and then I want this. Yeah. Okay, cool. This scratch sheet, I'm not sure if we looked at that or not, but I'd add that range. It's an add-in feature where basically it's this scratch sheet that'll just like scrub it for you and give you a new scratch sheet. So what I was gonna do here is just like make a range. ZZZ, string, and then take this value right here, this JSON, and put it in there. So now we don't want to scrub the sheet again. I can message box it. So see how I just put this range right here, that range name? That's just corresponding with this cell right here. That's it. Let's just run through now. So it's going to go and it's going to get the value of the JSON text from the range by doing range whatever.value. We're going to create an animal dictionary, and then we're going to get the same dictionary and then print it out. Okay, so I think maybe that helps to see, hopefully. This is converting to JSON, and this is parsing a JSON. Sometimes in the video I put this JSON converter thing there, and sometimes I didn't. You don't have to use it. It's just, it helps to see if I type it in, it's the name of a module. You can quickly see like the different things it can do for you. But you could just as easily like get rid of it and just put parse JSON and put whatever in there. Okay. I'm stopping this one. Okay, let's talk about the UDFs, those worksheet functions. So I'm gonna clean. No, I'm not gonna clean that up. Let's go back to home and let's get rid of this junk. So this get number of expenses total. This is not something that is built into Excel the way, like the sum formula is. This is something that we made. It's a UDF, which stands for user defined function. So let's just make one kind of from the top here. I'll just put it on we'll put it on the demo module. All right. Here's an example one that I have. So multiply by 3, some number as variant. I don't want the error handler there. Save. So we have a public function. Oh, and it needs to be on a public module. So this needs to go away. And now down here, I can say multiply by 3, and I can put in, a number like 22, and we get 66. Okay? But instead of just doing something silly and contrived like that, we actually made these nicer UDFs. And these UDFs actually reached into the database. So for like the total number of business expenses, this get DB business expense resolves to a database, the one in particular that has business expenses, and we just return the record count. UDFs should be really fast. I think we talked about the fact that they can get called multiple times. So like even though this is only in one formula, let's verify that. It's right there. That's it. Okay? So you would think if we calculate the workbook, it would only get hit one time. But, and I'll just do, just do a native Excel calculation. AAA. Come on. All right. Well, I think I showed you before, but they can get hit multiple times. I think I would have to be referencing it. So like I would have to have like this equal to it, and then like this equal to this. Maybe that'll do it. Whatever. UDF should be really fast. don't underestimate how much because when the workbook calculates, that code will get hit. So make them fast. Let's stop on that now. All right. So what would happen? Error handling, I think, is important to think about too. With UDFs, like you're really blind. So normally when we run a subroutine and like there's an error, it flashes and it takes us right to the line. It opens up the code editor and takes us to the line where it broke. So that makes it easier to diagnose. But if we look at the function here, wherever the hell it went, here, multiply by 3. What if we put in something that wasn't a number? Like, can't multiply parrots by 3. Look, you get this value error, and it's like not clear. It's hard to diagnose, basically. So you can put an error handler on error, go to EH, and then like this. So if there is no error, it's just going to go it's just going to return the number times 3. And then it's going to hit this exit function and it's going to be gone. Notice the distinction. This is an exit function. You can have like as many exit functions as you want within a function, but there can only be one end function. If I try to throw like an end function here, I don't really want to do it. Yeah, it gives it gets mad about this because as far as it's concerned, like the function ended right here, so it's not even seeing the EH. But it'll be really obvious if you do that. So this pretty error text just basically like looks at the error. See, like, let's see what happens here. Definitely do a compile. Error and multiply by 3, error number 13, type mismatch, whatever. So that's probably, you have to decide how you want to handle your returns. I show you some examples sometimes of like mine, of like there's some UDFs that the add-in has that we haven't even talked about that are built in that let you just get database stuff, like information by field. So probably here we'd say runtime error, and we would not message box in there. Okay, that would at least give you like some clue. If you are diagnosing these things, I think I mentioned earlier in this video breakpoints. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it was in one of those cuts that I canceled. But you can click here and get a and set a breakpoint. And so now if I do this, it's going to actually freeze the code right here on this breakpoint. And then you can step through. Oh, I thought there was usually a button up there, but I guess not. In any case, I always just use the shortcut, F8. So now it's about to do this line. I hit F8, and then, whoa, what just happened? I flew to the error handler. So at this point, you could just be like, error.number, it's 13. It's a type mismatch, okay? And then locals window, we can see, some number is parrots. That's a red flag. Somebody might be wondering, like, why did I not make this a long type? And the answer is that, like, I think that if I put in like 23.0 here, I've just noticed some problems in the past where like if it's no, that's working too. I don't know. I use variant a lot, and I think other people use variant too. But you know, if you can get away with putting the correct type here, that's probably better than using variant. Okay, let me see. That is everything I want to talk about UDFs, and I guess I gave you a little bit of extra stuff on error handling too. Stopping. Okay, user forms. We made a user form from scratch. This prompt explorer, you saw how to create inputs, style inputs, load the inputs when the form initializes. We looked at events, so like we added a label click event here to sort of cycle through. We only have 2 prompts right now. We looked at how to sort of process the save event. So say like, I don't know, save. And we saw that now writes into this prompt. So if we go to that prompt in here, we'll see the the add-in comes with these generic views. So like we're looking at a generic list view here. If I were to click edit display fields here and remove this amount, now it's deselected, the amount is gone. So the generic views are good for, when you're quickly setting up a model and iterating. You can just use a generic out of the box. But like we saw that this sort of generic edit view is very limited. Like the text boxes it's just somewhat limited. So for prompt, we made a custom one, like this prompt explorer is customized. And then we connected it though to the generic. So now instead of defaulting to using the generic edit view, it instead opens up like our fancy one. I think that for forms, I think that's enough for forms. This is how we make the videos faster. Cut. Okay, let's talk about the models. So after you basically, when you install the add-in, or it's not really an install, you just download the file and you put it in a folder, and then this ribbon will just automatically appear in Excel. And you can sort of, models are like the heart and soul. So there's 5 models that are actually here. When you create your first host workbook, these 3 system models will just come with it. We created these 2 models, prompt and business expense. A model is made up of fields. So if we inspect the fields for business expense, we see that there's basically 2 main categories of fields: local fields and remote fields. The remote field, it represents stuff that we do not control. So like there was a purchase, on this date for a keyboard. That's just a fact. It cost a lot actually. So if we try to write in code like business expense dot amount and we put any value, we would see an error. It would say, amount is a remote field. You cannot change it. You can do it, but it's like it's a little bit harder to do. You basically have to like write a fake import script. But the point is that this is beyond our control. So it's a way of signaling our intent. The local fields are the opposite. So these are things that we're going to conclude to here in Excel. They live together in one model. So you could think of it as like a mosaic. The cost category is what we conclude to, like, is it office supplies? Is it a merchant fee? And the follow-up question, is something that, if the cost category is tagged as needs context, then there could be a follow-up question. I think that we looked at a minute ago with the Windows Copilot example had it. You add fields. So from the top, you create a model. You can click this models button, and there's a shortcut. It says right here, Control-Shift-M, and you create a model here, give it a name. The data source, if it's a purely local model, select local. If it's gonna be sort of originating from the web, you could think of this as like, where does the ID come from? All right, those payments that we looked at, those expenses, they have an ID, a very long ID. So like fundamentally, it's not something that we control when we do web. If it's local, it means that it's something that we're making inside of this workbook that doesn't exist in some other database. And once you've created a model, then you can add fields. So when you're adding a field, give it a name. It has to be unique to all the other names that you've already used. Choose the table type. So if it's something that's going to be coming from, another source, you'll make it a remote field. If it's something that you expect to change in Excel, like a conclusion, it's local. Field types, I talked about them. I think the main thing to know is that you could just use variant field for everything, because after you've created a field, it's very easy to go and, in fact, I saw one here. Let's see. In prompt, I thought I saw one in here that would be good to change. Maybe it was in business expense. Yeah, follow-up question. That is a variant field, but we could just change it. We could change it to a char field or a text field. Either one would be okay here. Okay, so I was going to cut that video and re-record it after I saw that error, but I think I'll just tell you what happened. So when we were making this project, I noticed that there was some stuff that we were doing manually that we didn't have to. So we made this getDB prompt and getDB business expense, and it's logical that for every model that you create, you'll want to have a constructor function to get the database quickly. Otherwise, you have to do, this line right here, like in your regular code. And you wouldn't have model name prompt. You would type in prompt. Or I guess maybe you would have that. I don't know. But why not just make that? Why don't I just inject that code for you? So in making this video, I realized that that's another little inefficiency that I could squeeze out. There's no need for you to set up this construction scaffolding. So now it automatically, whenever you create a model, it automatically creates one of these getDB prompt functions or getDB model name functions, and it also creates a constant called model name underscore and then the name of the model. So the stuff that we were doing in this video, the stuff that we had to do, we don't have to do this boilerplate code anymore. So let's get rid of this, and let's find where that other one was. Here in the New World Part 3. New World Part 3. Don't have to do any model name creation. Don't have to do any create DB model, get DB model, whatever the hell it was. So let me see if I can actually muscle this through and make it work. Right now, I would get compile errors all over the place. But But what we want to do is, like, under the hood, whenever you create or edit a field, it reconstitutes is what I call it. But like, it rebuilds all of these class modules for you. It rebuilds each class module for your models, and it also rebuilds this host constructors file. So I'm still looking. I opened up this workbook to make this conclusion video, and it's been a minute since I worked on it. So what I'm going to try and do right now is just manually hit the reconstitute button, and what we should see is the model name constants and the getDB function should be inserted right here on the host constructors. So let's try it. Let's see what happens. Granted, we have compile errors right now, but cross your fingers. It's telling me regenerate all class modules. Yes. It's checking to make sure it's okay to do it. Yeah, it's okay. Boom. So here on host constructors, look, here's the two model name constants. Here's the two DB getters. And then here are the usual constructors for all of the, basically for each of these class modules down here, like class business expense. There it is right there. This is all just so you don't have to write this code, so that you can just plug and play. And believe me, it's not stealing anything, experience from you. There's no way that I could cover all of the possibilities and things you're going to run into. You will have plenty of, you'll get exposure to everything you need to. All right, so I showed you where that error came from, and I told you what we were really talking about was just fields. And the point is, you can create models, you can create fields, you can change field types, you can change field names. And I think that is a good logical point to cut. The last thing to say about fields is that you do not have to add them through the user form. You can instead just directly insert columns on the worksheet. So if we wanted to add a field to, say, business expense, there are two worksheets, right? One of them is the local worksheet, and one of them is the remote worksheet. It doesn't say remote, just the lack of local indicates that. Those sheets might be hidden though, or whatnot. So the way that I will usually get to the sheet is through Control-Shift-J, or you can also get here through this Open Sheet Navigator form. And then I would type in, I don't know, business, and I see two worksheets. So if I double click on that worksheet, it's going to take me there. Another way is, in the regular fields inspector, if you just double click on a local field, see how my mouse is jumping? It just takes you to wherever that column lives. The ID field is actually on both local tables and remote tables, but on the local table, the remote table truly owns it. Okay, so all I'm doing is trying to show you how to get to a worksheet. So let's add another field here. I will say new remote field. Let's say new remote field A, new remote field B. All right, and then we hit this deep recalculate. I think in an earlier video you had to click this twice in order for it to detect the new field. But I revised that. So now it's just once. 2 unapplied migrations, inserting A, inserting B, press yes. Okay, done. So what did we call them? Let's see. I'm just going to search for those substrings. So there they are. Here's our getters for the two fields, and there would also be a letter or a setter, whatever it's called. Here. When you're iterating and you're building quickly, I think that adding the fields on the worksheet is just quicker than going through the GUI interface. One of the advantages that you have over traditional software development is that, this fluidity, ability to change fields quickly. When you have, a web database and it has rows of data in there, it's not so easy to just like change properties of a field, because you have to deal with all of the rows that are already in there. So like if you have 1,000 records in a student database, and there's a field and it's null allowed equals true, and you want to change it to null allowed equals false, you have to go and figure out what to put in there for all the rows that already exist. So your advantage is speed, and ability to iterate quickly. The fact that we can just reset this completely, nuke the data, add new fields, change fields. So like Sun Tzu, Art of War, you want to take advantage of leverage your advantages. Okay, I'm gonna cut. Next thing is the import scripts. So we just gotta go through this because I'm covering things that we already covered, kind of from like a little bit of a different angle, maybe, hopefully. Import scripts, we prompt the user for to select a CSV file. If they don't do anything, we exit the sub. I call this a manhole return, like the Ninja Turtles. The way this import works is we basically open up the file path they give us in another workbook. We find the very first worksheet in that book, and we find the corner cell of that. Then we create a collection, and we use this thing named array, which is from the add-in, and we loop through all the rows. We create a dictionary for each row, and we just load this data into the dictionary. These are field names here, like on our side, and these are the import headers in the import file. Most of them are the same, I think, except for vendor. I called it vendor name. Finally, we call ingest external records because these are coming from outside the system, and then it gives us a little message box. I can hit F5 right now and run it. Why does this always happen? Let's see. We need this. It's worth showing you this cool trick again. Click in here in any file explorer window and then click here. Updated 101 records. All right, that is imports. Done. Let's look at the settings again. So when you create a host workbook, a lot of these sheets are like deeply hidden and out of sight. So Control-Shift-J, and you can find a worksheet. You don't actually need to. I guess sometimes you do need to go to the setting registry if you want to give like custom choices. But we created a setting for to intercept outgoing prompts. So when you create this setting row, it basically gives you the ability to query it in VBA and find out what the current value is. And it also is nice for giving your users like an easy way to change. So like we didn't code this form. This is another generic form. It just knows. Let's see, the code behind this is open form settings custom. This workbook is the host workbook. So here, if I put my cursor in here, I can see the bold one is this argument. And if I move my cursor beyond this comma, I see the next one. All the rest of this stuff is optional. The italic text means like it's not required. I think that's what it means. It's the little brackets around it, actually. They're all italic. It's the brackets around it that mean it's not required. I mean, if it was required, like if I delete this and I hit compile, it says argument not optional. So again, you'll get quick feedback if you're doing it wrong. It's not something you have to memorize. Let's just add another setting just in a contrived way just to see it one more time. So recalculate, config, create setting, I don't know, AI example setting, tab, enter. Take a snip of this if you want, when you're actually doing it, take a snip of it, and then just like this. I use this snipping tool all the time. So you can grab it like this, hit OK, and then like you can just like cross things off or whatever. I have these all. There's not much to it. You want to put the current value. So like say that we want to make the choices. I don't know, cats, dogs, and parrots. So right here in this cell, data validation, list. Let's just see cats, dogs, parrots. I think that's how you do it. Yeah. Is it a user input? Yes. And then all this stuff, really, you don't need to worry about this. Encrypted, if you wanted to encrypt it, you would set this to true. This is just stuff that, it tells you what it's doing. And right here, I'm going to put it in the AI group. Recalculate. And now, there's our setting. If I change it to dogs, now it's dogs. All right, so, and I guess to show you how to get it in a code context. What are we doing? Demo, custom Whoa settings. Message box, get setting. Watch out, this get setting is like built into Excel, and it's this one is built into Excel. It saves it in the registry. I don't think you want that. You want Whoa get setting or something of that nature. Yeah, get setting value. Get setting value safe is if you're not sure if the setting will exist. So like I have to use that sometimes because if I release a new version of the add-in and I know that you're gonna have old host workbooks, you may not have that setting yet. So like I'll check if the setting doesn't exist and I'll create it if your workbook doesn't have it. You probably just want to use this one. All right, this is the WB host, and I can't remember what the name of that setting was. Short-term memory. Yeah, this. All right. Message box, result, dogs. All right, and we can also change the setting value. Read the current setting value. Change setting value. This one's going to take one more parameter, and that's the new value. Let's just demonstrate if I put something that's not an allowed choice that we put in that data validation, we should hit an error. Record setting, which is not an allowed choice. That's the illegal value. That's the name of the setting. All right. And then now let's put something that is allowed. I think parrots. Now it's parrots. So you can interact with the setting with code, and you can put a nice button so on your home page that your users can change the settings, and you also can put some of that text in there in here to tell them what it means. Here this notes are internal. That just means like your end users aren't going to see it. It's not secret, but it's not going to be like presented to them. It's more for like your own reference. All right, so that is settings in a nutshell. Lastly, let's just talk about the runners. So validation, test, and reset. We call them runners because I don't know why I call them runners. I think I'm like misusing a term that professional software developers use. But these things basically just go through your workbook and they find all functions that meet certain criteria. So anything that's on a module that starts with validate, a function that is on a module that starts with validate and has in the function name get validate errors. This is any function that's on a module that starts with tests and in the functional name has get test errors. And reset is something similar. It's like it'll tell you. So if you don't currently have any functions defined, it will tell you the name of the module and the name of the function prefix. So like let's just validate. Something occurs to me. Earlier, here, we talked about like what to do if there was an error. So let me just, let's make an error again. Oh, good. I thought I put an error handle in there, but maybe I took it away. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I know what it is. It's we changed this to long. Remember I said I use variant sometimes? Let's change it back to variant. So before this line, when this on error go to EH, that's short for error handler, when it hits this line, it like changes the mode that it's interpreting the code. And so if any error happens after this line, it's going to jump straight to this block. That's what the go to does. This is one of the few instances where go to is good to use. Otherwise, like go to, like this paradigm of being able to like jump to a line in code is very controversial and it's discouraged. You should not use go-to statements except for, in a few situations, and this is one of those situations. It just makes your code very hard to reason about, and I think some programming languages like removed go-to because of all the headaches and problems it caused. They actually just took it out of the language. It's like not a language feature just because of the sheer problems it caused. All right, so now I should be back to getting a regular, this guy. Oh, yeah, and so because basically when I had this as a long type, it was erroring before it reached this line. It was erroring right here on the signature. It's like, wait a minute, like the scribble scrabble text I set is not a number. But now that I changed it back to variant, it's getting past this line. It's running this line. It's hitting an error, and it's coming here. So let's get rid of the error handler for what I want to do here. There. Because I plan to give you guys this workbook, I think maybe I'll leave that there so that you can have the example of the error handler. All right. Cool. So now, no matter where we are in the universe, maybe we're over here, whatever, we can validate the workbook. And let's see. Oh. First, it's going to tell me cell formula error detected on, home sheet cell F12. So anywhere in your whole workbook is going to be scanning for any sort of error. So by just clicking this button, you can instantly get, peace of mind that there's no formula errors anywhere. But the only reason it detected that is because it was an actual error. If I had returned that text that we had before, it doesn't know that that's an error, that, the hard-coded text, it was like runtime error, whatever. It's only going to find true Excel errors that start with the hashtag. And this one, invalid procedure, missing return type, multiple. Oh. So like here, because it's a function will work if you don't put a return type, but you should put a return type. So if I put the return type in there, and we run this again, let's clear out this text. Now we only have one error, the cell error. It'll also find broken hyperlinks and something else which I forget. Oh yeah, bad name ranges. So if any of your name ranges point to, ref errors, so if you create a name range on a worksheet and then you delete that worksheet, that range gets broken. And those are a source of problems sometimes. So it'll also scan for those. Last thing to say about that is that under this advanced menu, there's like a find broken references. And it'll just list out where all of the errors are. And you can just click here and it takes you to the cell. So let's go ahead and clear it. Validate. One warning. I might take this warning out, but basically when you hit like a bunch of errors and stuff, you can sometimes these back forward, you lose this capability. But if you just open the workbook again, it'll work. These things are just kind of, I don't know. They're not very reliable, these two buttons. All right, that's it for runners, and that might be it for the whole video. If I'm not back again in 1 second, that's the end of the video. It really doesn't seem right to just leave you like that. So this is the end of the video. If you guys made it through and watched all of the videos, awesome. I would love to know what you think. I'm waiting for the lawyers to say okay on terms of service and everything, but I'm prepared to basically pull the trigger and make this available. I'm going to put a cap, so like 5 people will be able to sign up. Well, more people will be able to register, but to actually subscribe and get the add-in, there'll be a cap on that because I want to test it out with like a small number of users. So if you get this add-in and you subscribe, I will literally get on the phone with you. I will help you. You know, if you share your screen and sort of talk to me about the problem that you're trying to work on, I will show you, you know, how I would approach it. I don't want to write your workbooks for you. But I'll write a code example for you and send it to you. And I'll certainly, if you send me a host workbook with an error, I'll open it up, find it, and fix it for you. Basically, I'll do whatever I can to help you because these first users who subscribe, you know, you guys are going to find some of the bugs that I haven't been able to find. And so my way of sort of compensating you is that I will personally help you however I can. I will even give you my phone number so you can signal message me. I have Signal open most of the day, and so you could literally get a hold of me at any time, and I'll help you. Okay, I don't think that for a first video playlist, this wasn't too terrible. Hopefully, I can iterate and improve on my video skills in the future. I'm just gonna stop now. Thanks, guys, and have a nice day.